are now tuned in to Discover Your Potential with TV radio talk show hosts Dan Gilman and Anna DeVere. So listen, participate, and be inspired. Know that you can discover your potential.
Hi, welcome to Discover Your Potential. I'm co-host Dan Gilman with my special co-host
Anna DeVere.
I always point to the wrong direction. And today we have yet another amazing, did I say that enough? Amazing guest today. Today's episode where we explore the depths of the human mind and the power of transformation. And we're thrilled to have the esteemed Dr. Yasmine Saad. And she is a renowned, her work is groundbreaking in psychology. She was dedicated her life to unraveling the complexities of teen mental health, which we just talked about, fostering personal growth and promoting holistic wellness. And she has a compassionate approach and a deep commitment to healing. And I just want to bring her on. She's amazing. We have had her on our show before. I'm so blessed to have you on again. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really my pleasure.
Dr. Saad, I'm thrilled when we bring on a guest that I know can have an impact within our time frame. When I reviewed the questions that you answered so eloquently before, my big aha and takeaway is that transformation doesn't need to necessarily take lots of time. I would love it if you would just kind of start with your approach to the inner work that seems so key in making that big transformational leap.
100%. I believe in aha moments. I believe that the moment things click, everything opens. So my job as a psychologist is to help you have those aha moments. And how do they happen? Well, you actually have a body and a mind that are constantly guiding you through thoughts and emotion. Your body and mind are emitting emotion and thought and bodily signal to you. The only thing is you don't know how to decode them. So you don't know what it means. You don't know if you're angry, what it means. You don't know if you're not feeling good, what it means. So I am here to help you decode your thoughts and emotions so that you start understanding the signal that your body and your mind are emitting. And those signals are here to push you to better. And when I say that, for some people, it's a bit hard because they're going to be thinking, how are my negative thoughts pushing me to be better? Well, let me tell you a little bit. If somebody was knocking at your door right now, very loudly knocking, and I'll continue just a little bit with this metaphor for people to really understand that you're sitting in your living room, somebody's knocking at the door, and you're really, really annoyed. You want to go to another room, you really want to put some music on, but instead this person keeps knocking, and to the point that you're starting to really be a bit scared. Who is that? Well, let's put ourselves in the seat of the person knocking at the door. If I have a diamond for you, won't you think that I'll be knocking at that door so loud? Well, this is exactly what happens with our negative thoughts and emotion. They come knocking at our door. They are very loud. They are annoying. We want to avoid them. We want to go to the other room. We want to put music. We want to put the positive. We don't want to listen because it's painful. But at the end, they're like this messenger. They look scary. They're highly annoying, but they fulfill their purpose, which is for you to listen, to start understanding what is that thought telling me. And so if you have a negative thoughts, let's start decoding it together. So I can continue on, but Dan and Anna, if you have any question, I can also answer them up to what you prefer.
Wow, no, this is groundbreaking because I find myself, I have a very difficult time meditating. I think a lot of people in the Western world do. And I feel like we are so prone to masking, that thought that's knocking and resisting that thought that's knocking. And I've just now begun this principle after hearing you talk about stop ignoring that sign. How does your body actually feel? Can you talk a little bit? I know you're talking about decoding and we're unpacking a lot of things, but Can you talk a little bit about your approach to finding out your essence so that when you're decoding that thought, you can really understand why is it plaguing me in a certain way? Because I think we identify with our thoughts and then we really think we are those negative thoughts.
100%. So let's start with you have angry thoughts. You have angry emotion. Let's continue on the metaphor of anger because it's an easy one. And most of us are very frustrated. The reality, we live in a stressful world, whether it be our children, our teenager, or us, we will encounter frustration. And frustration always happens to call our attention. It's like a child pulling your sleeve, say, pay attention. There's something that is not being met that you need to pay attention. Not necessarily to meet it, but because it's important. So, for example, I'll give a apparently silly example to make it clear. Let's say you're in a relationship, you come home and you start being very frustrated with your partner because maybe the house was left messy, let's say. So you are frustrated. So now what is your frustration calling your attention to? To the messy house and to the fact that your partner didn't help with the messy house. Now, that's the first step. The second step is, okay, why is it so frustrating to have a messy house or to have a partner not helping you? This is where you get to the essence of who you are. For some people, it would be, well, I want companionship, and this is not companionship. I'm left alone dealing with the messes of life. And it will show up in this simple example as what is essential to me is feeling supported and having companionship in my relationship. So, not so much about the mess, but about that part. And it reveals something that is very particular to you, the idea of companionship and sharing, and potentially maybe also fairness. Maybe you want fairness, you want for two people to have the same equal amount. And so that is very important. Another person, very differently, would be, no, I like my home organized. It's not about my partner not helping me, it's about the house being disorganized. And the attention is about, in order to be at my best, I need an organized home. And so then it gets you back to, well, who are you then? What's your essence? Your essence is you're someone who's very sensitive to imbalances in your environment. And the moment you see those imbalances, you get imbalance. And so the essence of who you are is somebody who has a very fine eye for balance and imbalances. That means you're sensitive. That means you like harmony. So from there, we get to the essence of a person. And so now, can you live a life going places that are harmonious? Being in nature would be a great place for you. Then can you see how this knowledge, now you can go in beautiful, you might like exhibits, art exhibit. You might like where there's a lot of beauty in it. That would be important for you to thrive. While for the first person, what would be important is to find a relationship with someone who also wants fairness, companionship. So that's how one emotion decoded by two people give you two different essence and two different strategy and two different ways to be well in the world.
I have a question actually that kind of goes into the power of connection about the essence. Like in your experience, how important is the role of connection in relationships and understanding the essence of who you are?
So
I guess that kind of trends closely.
yes. So connection is essential, but people focus on connection with others, but connection with others cannot happen if you don't have connection with the self. I'll give you an example. Like a lot of people are feeling lonely nowadays, and they actually have friends and they go to party, and we see that in a lot of our youth. They go to party, they feel so alone. They're with their group of friends at the party, and they feel so alone because in that moment they feel different. They feel they don't belong. In that moment, they're not connecting to what is making them happy, to who they are. They're in an environment that doesn't hit home. It's not hitting home. And therefore, the connection to the essence of who you are is what makes you feel connected to others. So I'll give you an example. Like, I feel very connected to myself when I'm talking about consciousness, expansion of consciousness, awareness. So anybody who engages me with that, I feel very connected to that person automatically. Now you come and you talk to me about politics. I might not
Right.
connect very well with you because it's not my essence. It's not my thing, right? So,
Mhm.
so it's really important that you know what is you and what you connect with, and engage people and have people around you who engage in the same thing. And that's the way we connect.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a good thing
Well,
we don't talk politics on the show.
I'm really glad we don't talk about it. Well, I'm really grateful that you're essentially talking about self-awareness. And I think this ties into giving yourself self-love, giving yourself permission to engage in activities that really do nurture you so that you show up, very present to those things. And then allowing yourself when you can to really refill the well. For me, I'm very capable of connecting with other people, but I very much need time alone to really decompress and to refuel. So I have to balance my obligations socially, and I think giving yourself permission, that self-love and that self-awareness, means knowing when you've reached your limit, and then you can connect. But how much of your time do you spend counseling couples, or how much of your time is just one-on-one? Do you do any couples therapy?
So I train psychologists. So now my main job is to train psychologists. So I see less and less one-on-one patients, because my mission is really to have a big impact, and on a one-on-one I have a bit less. But in my group practice, we have countless amount of couples, families. As you can imagine, with the COVID pandemic, it has triggered this ripple effect of couple issue, family issues, and there are still going on. So we see a lot of couple and families. To go back a little bit to what you were saying, because I love what you said, that you need time to recharge and to fulfill your obligation, your responsible obligation. I would add two things to that. Is we all have a temperament. Some people get refueled by interaction, some people get refueled by quiet downtime. Now there's something that gets added to that is people don't know as much about, and that should be paid attention, is the way we think about relationship and others adds to that. So there's a lot of people who recharge when they're alone, who end up feeling zapped, zipped, you name it, like who end up feeling like their energy is taken away from them when they're with others. So to develop the idea that I have to protect my energy from others, I have to pay attention, and it creates this relationship where others are detrimental. And so now you have a temperament, a way of being, and now you have a cognition that will add more zapping, because now you're focusing on where I'm at. Am I being zapped? Where? And that is not good. You have added too much. Ideally, we should be able to function in both places. So I would encourage anyone, whatever your temperament is, to look at what thoughts you have added, and to think about, okay, well, how can I enjoy this right now? How can I turn this? And maybe you take little breaks, maybe you go to the bathroom 2 seconds and you come back. But the idea is, if their relationship is draining, you are doing too much. You are adding. So maybe you're adding, I have to be entertaining, I have to be fun, or this is my job, or you are adding a layer of responsibility that is not needed. So your energy does not flow. It doesn't flow, and you're adding extra work. So that would be important to look into.
Wow. I feel like I could nab this whole session and talk about these things, because I obviously need help. I'll give you another example. One of the things that I find myself doing a lot is replaying old arguments. So I'll essentially get up, I will do my morning routine, and if I'm not careful, I automatically default to Who will I have to meet today? And I'll replay an old argument, which is so much of a waste because, again, you're saying, I'm adding that responsibility that I'll somehow reopen that argument. I cannot tell you how much negative space that takes up in my brain, but I'm trying to retrain and become aware. Can you talk a little bit about how people can just get a grip on these kind of spiraling patterns of thought behavior? Because I think that's normal. If I'm aware of my emotions and I'm thinking about people as a drain, how do I get out of that negative loop? In essence, being aware is step one. But I love the way you think about this process, Dr. Saad.
And I love that you're sharing this example because I would say 80% of the people we see in my practice go through exactly what you described. We live in a world where we are not fully aware, but we're stressed. And so we're constantly anticipating an adversity. And when we have time of respite, of silence, of rest, we'll be replaying, rehashing, redoing, either to prepare us for the future, either to do better. That's the way our mind does it. So I want to give you an example to really what's at the core of this. And I'll give you the punchline and I'll explain to you. The punchline, what is at the core of this, is your relationship to aggression, to adversity, to bad things happening. That relationship is not the best relationship in the sense that your mind is creating a circle where you have to protect yourself. So I'll give you an example to understand how it works. We start to overthink, to rehash, replay when we need to digest something. And that's our mind's way of digesting event. The thing that we have the hardest thing to digest is what we call in psychology aggression, which can come as form of criticism, like somebody looking at you wrong, like any perceived negativity from others is received as an aggression, as something bad happened, something wrong. And it triggers your system to start thinking. And you start analyzing, rehashing, replaying, so that you be better equipped to have a response, to not be affected, to this, to that. That is not how it works, unfortunately, because it creates a loop. So another way that I like to describe the relationship towards ruminating and aggression is a very simple one for everybody to understand. You're walking down the street, New York City, and now in New York City, sometimes it's safe, sometimes not so safe. But let's say you're walking down the street in New York City in an unsafe area. Mm-hmm. Somebody come punch you in the face. You do nothing. Your mind will go, when is the person coming back? Where are they? Am I safe? How is it going? And then you go, and your mind will rehash, replay. Take the same example, but in this time, instead of doing nothing, you're like, how dare you? I'm calling the police. I'm in that moment, there's no rehashing, no playing. You know, it's not. Now, when you go back home and it quiets down and there's silence, you're going to start rehash, replay. But my point is when you receive aggression, what I call aggression, and that can be in the form of criticism, somebody, nonverbal expression, you name it. If you do not process it and release this aggression, and I'm not saying yelling at people, shouting, I'm not saying that. I will tell you how to release it. But if you don't release it, your mind will take over and will rehash and replay because that's its way of digesting. So the moment we do this is because we don't feel safe in the world, we don't feel safe in interpersonal relationship, and we perceive them as potentially harmful. And our mind's way of protecting ourselves is rehashing, replaying. So the solution is to build a little bit of assertiveness, so not shout, not yell, but you have to find your own strength. And what is your own strength? It's tapping into, I can assert myself, I can protect myself. Or how can you? Where are the places you can protect yourself? How can you? So instead of tapping into where you're vulnerable, where you're missing, where you're lacking, where you did wrong, you have to tap into, okay, how can I stand tall? How can I do this? And you can start first with the body posture. I always say, like, if you stand straight like that, you walk outside, it's much harder to feel anxiety. But if
Mm.
you are like that and you walk outside, I already feel anxious just sitting this way.
Mhm.
It's just a vulnerable state. So the key to all our audience, all our listener who are rehashing and replaying, is to tapping into that assertiveness, that strength, and healing your relationship to what I call aggression, which is anything harmful, any criticism, because that relationship is not solid. So your mind is constantly sending you fire alarm, like prepare, rehash, replay, redo.
Yeah. And I also it connects with that question of facing fear and uncertainty. I have a question. How do you face fear and uncertainty both personally and professionally? And what advice would you give to others trying to navigate their own fears?
So, my steps is always to analyze and understand. As and I said, the first step is awareness. But to have awareness, you need to have distance to your emotion. So you need to be a little bit detached. When you're in a space of fear where you get triggered, it's
Yeah.
hard to think, it's hard to analyze. So you have to remove yourself. So the first step is understanding how close are you to them. Can you think? If you cannot think, the best way is to change the environment. Listen to music, watch a movie, like take yourself out of this zone you're in, go to
Mhm.
somebody else's apartment, do something, go for a walk, because that changing the environment change your body state and therefore change your relationship to that emotion, creates a distance, and then you can start thinking. And that's why a lot of people go for a walk and then they can start actually thinking and understanding what's happening. Um,
Makes
so
sense.
I'm at a point in my life where I do have quite a bit of distance, so I can pick up what's happening. But if something trigger me and I don't, I go there. The
Mm.
other place that I do too is, if your body is going through ailment, you will have emotions. So we all know, for example, that when you're anxious, you have butterfly in your stomach. Well, if you have a stomach bug, you're likely to be more anxious. If your stomach is digesting heavy meal, you'll be more anxious. So I also analyze, because I'm regulated now, I analyze, that is unusual for me. Is my stomach okay? Where am I? So I analyze all this to see what needs support. If my body needs support and I support it with food, or it's my mind that
Mm.
needs support. And then, so to deal with fear and adversity, now we're at the mind level. In life, and that's totally a traditional Chinese medicine philosophy, Eastern medicine. As you know, I incorporate ancient Eastern wisdom to my psychology. There's as much support as challenge. Every situation always have challenge and support. Our
Mhm.
mind will always look at the challenge. It will look at deficiency, wrong, because our mind is a problem solver and it tunes in to the wrong, the deficient, the lack. So it tunes into fear. So the moment there is
Mm.
fear, I look at, okay, I'm going the side of I'm vulnerable, I'm weak. There's like something is coming, like an aggression coming my way that's bringing fear.
Mm.
So how can I rebalance it? Where can I go back? Where's my support? How can I look at the situation to see who can support me? Like regain my strength and balance, rebalancing my mind that went too much one way.
Hmm.
The other step is, the moment you have fear, your body and mind picked up a signal that is valid for you.
Mm.
It's I usually call it my pretty ugly example, which is nothing enters if here is solid. And I use that example, if I feel pretty and you tell me I'm ugly, it's just not going to enter. I'm going to think like, wow, you're really mean today. Wow, you really need glasses, but it's not going to enter. So for fear to enter, you need to have a crack. Same as my pretty ugly example. If I have doubt whether I'm pretty and ugly and you tell me I'm ugly, then I'll start, maybe they're right. And I'll start, it has entered. Whenever there's a crack in your identity and your ability to deal with things, it does enter. So for fear to have entered, that means that particular thing has triggered you. That means you are not so well equipped to deal with it. So nowadays, it's unpredictability, adversity. People are not equipped to deal with unknown because we are all planners, predictors. We reside on protecting ourselves from planning and predicting. And life is so unpredictable and will bring you something. So I always say to people, we have to heal your relationship to unknown. One, by making sure that your mind doesn't go to the lacking, the missing, but sees the lacking, the missing, and the support. Second, what can support you in this time of adversity? And it's always you. It's always you. So, who are you? Are you a creative person? Can you use your creativity to find a creative solution to a challenge? Can you use your maybe you're an accountant. Can you use your math skills and your logical ability to deal with adversity unknown? What can you use and what do you have to expand? At the end of the day, dealing with fear and adversity is about balancing your mind, building an identity, and building a sense of faith. And a sense of faith comes from analyzing your experience objectively and seeing that everything you went through brought you positive and negative, and you moved on. So why not the next one? So I hope I helped you. I gave you little step by step what people have to do with their mind, their body, their identity. So there's a lot of gems in there.
Love that.
Amazing. I'm trying to capture the highlights, but I think you've really walked through this. And I'd love to just say that even within, receiving aggression, I'm playing back a scenario where the person was really getting through the cracks in my mind until they said something to me about, well, you're too old to do that. And that was the first moment where I went, wait a minute, my identity around my age is wonderful. Like, I'm really proud to be my age. But it's so funny how everything else trickled in as aggression till that moment snapped my awareness out. And I went, like you said, you must need glasses. I'm the perfect age. Like, why would anybody attack that? And I'm really glad that you talked about having a sense of faith and just sort of seeing the signs in the universe as, I've been here through adversity before. I'm having a deep sense of who I am and what I actually can do as a support system. And then just realizing this is going to pass. I love that you've encapsulated it so perfectly. Thank you.
Mm.
And I would add one thing, not only is it going to pass, if you can ask yourself, what growth is it going to bring me? Or what growth do I want out of this? Because in the cycle of things, a hardship comes for you to expand your inner abilities if you want to. And if you don't, you do encounter pain. You do, and that's what we call resistance. You encounter pain because you're not going to the next level so that you don't be so impacted by this. But it has a potential for growth. And you want to ask yourself, okay, what do I need so that I can meet this challenge and grow from it?
Thank you. I've heard you talk a lot too about grief, and that you're allowing sadness in your life for a season, let's just say. And but I love what you talked about in losing a parent, a spouse, that you really have lost nothing because essentially they're carried with you in memory. Can you talk a little bit about the process of grief, Dr. Saad?
Yes, 100%. So grief cannot happen if there's no beauty. Grief is the other side of beauty. We grieve something that was so beautiful. If it's not beautiful, we don't grieve it. So sometime maybe the relationship was not beautiful, but the hope of what it would be is beautiful. So grief can only happen because we're missing something that is dear. And our mind is actually in the side of the missing. But really, what it is that we're missing the beauty. And so, in order to heal grief, you want to reconnect to the beauty. So, when you lose a parent, you want to ask yourself, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that I'm grieving? And sometimes it's the way they supported you, or their wisdom, or the way they rebalance your thinking, or the hugs. But you'll be able to find that maybe it was the way they rebalanced you. And so, can you start integrating that for yourself? And once you integrate that, you won't have the grief because the person is actually here with you in your heart doing what you're missing. So grief, it's like, doesn't exist anymore because the beauty that you are missing is within you. And we can do that with anything. Sometimes when we miss a parent, it's because of love, the love that they provided us, or in any way. But so how can we bring that? Well, sometimes it's talking to that parents constantly and feeling that connection. But you have to bring it back to the here and now. And that's how you heal grief. Grief is just, you're so connected to the missing of beauty. And we want to reconnect you to the fact that that beauty is actually here with you every day if you choose to. You just got to change the relationship so that you can have it.
That's yeah. And can I just state, I interviewed Dr. Bernie Siegel, and he talks about your lost loved ones, but he always said something about, you don't really lose their love. They'll always be a part of you. They'll always be inside of you. You'll always have their love, because that's not what goes away. But that resonates with me extremely. I mean, what you just said resonates with me. Can I just quickly segue, because I know we're gonna be
Yeah,
running out of time
you
soon, but
can. Just
in
Before
your
you segue,
in
can I say
in
a little something?
oh, absolutely, of course.
Because I think you said something so important. I wanted to add, um, our body, and this is where we linked body, mind, spirit, carries our ancestors with us. So sometimes, our eyes look
Mm,
like our mom or our dad or our grandparents, our nose. And, in morphology, that
mm,
the shape of your nose means something. And when you have the same nose as one of your parents, you have the same trait as
mm,
that parent. So they're already within you. So when you tap into your traits and who you are, or who they were, and what you have in common, you realize they're really here. They're still there. It's like there's
mm,
so much of it there. But a lot of people don't do that work. And one easy way was to see who who's my nose? Who do I have my nose from? Who do I have my mouth from? And then, well, what do we have in common as a trait? And then you start realizing, wow, I'm
yeah.
so much like them. Wow. And then you're like, so I can tap into who they are because they're here. So that is another easy shortcut way, that people can do.
I
That's true.
love that. I love that.
I just wanted to ask one question. So in your perspective, how does love contribute to the essence of who we are, and why is it a critical or crucial component of our psychological well-being?
Oh, that's such a juicy, good question. So
I just like to add juicy ones.
I love it. I love it. So, you see children when they're born very early on, they have their personality. You can have several children in the same family, everybody's different. So, you're born with certain traits. You can see in the playground the children who are playful. You see the other one who are fighters. You see the other one who are more sitting, reading. You can see that they're more intellectual. So, you are born, and all of us are, with certain traits. And those traits are here to support you in your journey, right? The one who are playful always like to be playful. You smoosh that down and they become like a wilted flower. You bring that up, they become alive. So you can see how life, your DNA, through your body, through your gene, through your trait, really build in a whole apparatus to support you in your life. Isn't that love? If there was a God, some people believe in God, some people don't. So I always say, if there was a God and it had to send love, wouldn't it be the best way to send love through your trait, through your body, through what you look like? Because those traits are here to support you. So I always say that love is at the essence of who you are. The same way that your mind is going to fire thoughts and emotion to call your attention. Isn't that love too? Like if I want to guide you a little bit and mold you, wouldn't I be sending things that you pay attention to? So that is love too. And I always say, like, if I know that a slap in the face is going to call your attention more than a hug, if I love you, would I hug you or slap you in the face? The slap in the face is more love. And our negative thoughts and emotion are just like that. So love is at the essence of everything that's happening within us and around us, through the challenges, through the negative. So love is at the essence of everything.
I am so, I'm like brimming with tears because I'm feeling the truth of your words, and you're so calming and soothing, Dr. Saad. And I can see why you've built this renowned global practice and following. And you're bringing back a memory. When I was a child, someone explained karma to me, and I must have been about 5 years old. And they said, you're here to balance things out in the karma scale. And I looked at them and I said, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to love people. So I am feeling the essence of you in the same pattern, and they're same. I know that Dan relates to that as a holistic healer and legacy from his mother. And just so appreciative of this deep conversation. It's not what you get out of most psychologists today. So thank you again for this brilliant conversation and what you've added to us. Thank you.
And it is my pleasure. And I feel emotional feeling how much it touched you. I can feel it. So this is really my pleasure, because this is my mission. I really want people to connect to the essence of who they are. And at the end of the day, it's love through sometimes the negative. And if the whole world could do this, would be a more peaceful, beautiful world, and people could navigate the mental health crisis in such a more beautiful way with so much growth. So that's really my mission. So I'm so happy and so thankful for the two of you for giving this platform and for inviting me, because I think a lot of people need this.
Thank you. Dan, did you have any parting words? I just want to say that part of discovering your potential is really discovering that essence of you. I know in looking back at my life, I have made the biggest leaps forward when I just got to, what is it that I really want? Who is it that I really am? And why am I feeling friction in the world? Probably because I'm ignoring the signs in my body, as you've talked about, Dr. Saad. And really understanding that your purpose here on earth is to be that being that you came to be. And when you're really in the love of who you are, that is discovering your purpose. So thank you again for very practical ways of looking at life and analyzing that and understanding that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you have any other, did you want to leave us with anything like parting words, or how do people get in touch with you? I know you're working with other, whether it be organizations or other therapists. Is there a way that people can reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So if you need psychotherapy help, I trained many psychologists who are working within my group practice and outside my group practice. So you can reach us at madisonparkpsych.com. You see it down there. And if you want more advice like this, follow me on Instagram at dr.saad, and with my name, Yasmine Saad, so Dr. Yasmine Saad. And you can always find me by Googling me. If you Google my name, you will find me. That is the easiest way. And I'm here to help.
That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you for
so
making
much.
wellness so accessible. I even appreciate your Instagram pictures, like the beautiful picture behind you. You are world peace embodied. Thank you so much, Dr. Saad.
You're
Thank
more
you
than
very
welcome.
much.
I believe therapeutic places feel good. So it has to look good and harmonious. And so that's the idea around everything.
Beautiful.
great.
Thank
And-
you.
So until next time, do something nice for yourself, but do something nice for someone else.
Something about gravity pulls on my heart as if a memory. But was it only a tale that I've heard of the travelers who bend their way through time? And they can circle the moon in their mind till they find their way back home to you. And in the blink of an eye, feel that hope that you've been holding on to all your life. I guess I wish that I'd see that the time bender set his sights on me. Then maybe I'd have seen the signs, and we could bring back all that wasted time. But couldn't you see me smiling at you when you were lost in the moon out at sea? And couldn't you tell I was lost in you, though I sent you away with a careless word or two? And when you hung up the phone, did you know how alone I'd be, and how long? I guess that's why I agree that the time